When I heard that song, I knew that I wanted to talk about adventure. Obviously, that's the theme. Um, but I'm not a very adventurous person. Where are my adventurous people at? Awesome. What makes you adventurous, Catherine?
I love to explore.
Love to explore. I love that. Marilyn, I know you're adventurous. What makes you adventurous?
The opportunity to learn and grow and experience.
Opportunity to learn and grow and experience. So, but it's inherent in you, right? And so when I think about, and I saw many other hands, this talk may not be for you. It's fine. For those of us who's not who does not consider themselves to be adventurous? Me and Jeannie. That's it. All right. We're just going to chat. Everybody else, talk amongst yourselves. No, I don't consider myself generally to be a very adventurous person. It's hard to feel like you're adventurous when you're afraid of heights, fish, and snakes, right? It eliminates a lot of opportunity. You know, like I'm not climbing big hills because there might be snakes and will be scared when I get there. And I'm certainly not deep sea diving because there's fish. So when I'm given a theme like adventure, I'm like, okay, but like I'm the least adventurous person ever. But I thought, okay, let's start with the definition of adventure and see where we can go from there. Definition of adventure that I found and liked is an unusual, exciting, and bold undertaking that involves unknown risks, uncertainty, and a strong chance of personal growth or discovery. And I was like, okay. Like, so it didn't say you had to swim with fish to have an adventure. Doing pretty good. And I kicked off the month of adventure, headed out on a road trip with my entire family to go. We started at the bottom. We flew into Eugene, Oregon, and drove all the way up to the top of Washington looking at colleges for my son. And it was a road trip, and we had snacks, which is an important component of any adventure. And we were certainly exploring my son's next adventure and what life was going to look like beyond his senior year left here with us. And I was excited, and I was like, okay, then I'm just going to stay wide open to this theme of adventure. And what better way when we're setting out on vacation? And, we did some things that felt, a little adventurous, but it was, it was a relatively safe. I'm like adventure light, like I got on an airplane, and that seems a little bit brave, but like we weren't, I didn't go in the ocean, even though we were right next to it. But I started to really just ruminate on this idea of adventure. And last week, as I really needed to buckle down for adventure, because I knew I was giving this talk today, I ended up in the ER with my husband, who ended up having to have emergency surgery to have his gallbladder removed. And I can tell you that adventure was the farthest thing from what I've been thinking about for the last few days. But then I went back to this definition of adventure: an unusual, exciting, and bold undertaking that involves unknown risks, uncertainty, and a strong chance of personal growth or discovery. And what I started to realize is that we are always in an adventure. Isn't that just describing life? All of the ups and all of the downs and the hospitals and the Seattles and the mountains that we climb. An unusual, exciting, and bold undertaking that involves unknown risks, uncertainty, and a strong chance of personal growth or discovery. That's what we're all doing here every day. As much as we try to keep our world small and safe and predictable, we don't know. You have no idea what's coming after you leave here. I have an expectation that I'm going to drive out of this sanctuary, perhaps go grab some lunch. I'm going to go home. I've got plans for, getting my life in order for next week, dinner with my sister. I've got plans that keep me feeling like my life is predictable and safe. But the truth is, I have no idea. On Wednesday night, my plan was to have dinner with my family, go climb into bed, binge some Real Housewives, and be asleep by 10. But life had other plans, and I ended up at Los Robles Hospital at 12:30 at night, and I ended up staying up for 36 hours as we navigated the road of investigation of what was going to happen, and ultimately my husband having surgery. He's home now, he's doing great, he's recovering, but that's why he's not here today. And I thought to myself, as I was going through that, my husband and I have been together for 23 years. It's a long time. And we have 2 kids, and their lives are really busy, and we have jobs, and that's really busy, and I'm a minister, and that's really busy. And often, we're like ships passing in the night. Oftentimes, our relationship can get, when I forget, we can get a little transactional and a little roommatey, right? Like it just happens, I think, when you've been with somebody for a really long time. And the beauty of being in that emergency room was the ability for us to come back together. A recognition of how much I love him, how much I appreciate him. An opportunity for him to need me and me to be able to provide what he needed, right? It was an opportunity for growth and for us for a greater connection. So it's an adventure. It qualifies. So if that qualifies as an adventure, then everything qualifies an adventure. So we can take off the table any idea, Jeannie, that we are not adventurous, because we wake up every single day and venture into the unknown. Every single day we're doing this. So the question really becomes not, are we adventurous, or what is the adventure? The question becomes, how can we enjoy the ride? Because I have a tendency to really enjoy the Seattle moments and to really want to get through as quickly as possible the moments that don't seem to be up to my liking. But the truth is, that's what we're doing here. We are meant to experience all that this life has to offer, and that means the joy, and it means the pain, and it means the grief, and it means the moments of elation, and it means moments of boredom, and it means all of it. We are supposed to and meant on this adventure, this journey of life, to experience all of it. So if I'm meant to experience all of it, then how do I embrace all of it without trying to fast forward through the moments that don't fit the narrative of the joy-filled life I think I'm supposed to have at every moment? Joy doesn't mean that we're always happy. It means that we lean into the experiences and we extract from them what we can, right? I look at, and I don't mean to single you out, Marilyn, but I look at Marilyn Murphy's journey that she's been on, her health journey. And I'm sure it's not fun. I'm sure there are things you'd rather be doing. You have a lot of travel you'd like to be doing now instead. But I've watched you lean into it and glean from it what there is to glean. And that is beautiful. That is transformative. That washes our edges away. That makes us more authentically who we are and allows us to remember who we are in an even greater way. We can't just discard that as not a valuable, vital component to this adventure that we're on. So if life is an adventure, and we agree that we're all on an adventure every moment of every day, how do we enjoy the ride? And I've developed a 4-step plan by my book. Just kidding. There's no book. Number 1, stop trying to avoid the pain. When we actively try to avoid the pain, we are missing its purpose, and it sticks around a lot longer. You want to move through the pain? Move through the pain. Stop avoiding it. I've spoken about this a lot. When my dad died, I had never experienced pain like that in my life. I had never experienced guttural pain like grief. But I also recognized that it was the first time in my life ever where everything stood still, where the only thing that was mine to do was to grieve, and everything else was taken care of. It was the first time in my life where I was in the middle of ministerial, where I questioned my faith and whether or not I even believed everything that we teach here, and came out the other side with even greater conviction and a greater sense of who I am. It's the single thing that I can point to besides motherhood that softened my edges and that allowed me to embrace vulnerability. I am the woman that I am standing here today with an REV and a DR in front of my name because I experienced grief. How dare I minimize that experience as something that I'm just supposed to breeze past or pretend it doesn't exist? It is a vital component of who I am. And the song says, with every broken bone, I want to live it all of it. I don't want to bypass the experiences. I don't know what every experience is or what's mine to do or what I'm meant to do. I'd like to think that I do, but we all know about best laid plans, right? So number one, stop avoiding the pain. What's it here to tell you? Listen, and then let it go. I'm not suggesting that we live in it and that we, pitch a tent in painland. I'm just suggesting that rather than running from it, we recognize it as a part of this experience and this adventure that we're on. Martha Graham says, stop waiting for the path to appear. The path is made by walking it, by stumbling on it, by realizing that the journey isn't somewhere else. It's right here in the mess of the present moment. The journey is now. Number two, stop trying to predict outcomes. Let yourself be surprised. We keep ourselves safe and we limit our adventure by trying to predict outcomes. And really, this is a subsection of stop trying to avoid the pain. How many relationships or situations have we cut and run from to avoid pain later? How many times have we walled off our heart to avoid getting hurt because of the vulnerability? It seemed easier and less painful than the vulnerability of experiencing the pain. I got to tell you, as somebody who did that for a very long time and just walled it off and thought nothing could touch me, I inflicted far more pain on myself through that process, and by the way, the unlearning process of it, than had I just stayed open in the first place. We have got to be willing to go with the flow, to recognize that we don't get to know. There's a liberation in not getting to know. You don't really know what tomorrow holds, but we can live today, right? And we can bring our consciousness to it. Now, lest you think that this entire talk is going to be, we have no control, we can't do anything, and, leave it all up to the fates. I'm aware that that's not what we teach. We do not teach that we are bystanders in our own life. But we also know that we get flat tires while we're on, our best laid plans of, a road trip out of town. Flat tires happen, fires happen, illnesses happen, things happen, life happens. So if we embrace it as part of the journey rather than an inconvenience, and we stop trying to avoid it or change course by becoming so predictable, predictability is really fear-based. Why do I try to control every aspect of my life? Because I'm afraid of the unknown. So if we can get comfortable with the unknown, we can breathe a little. Like, I want to be somebody who dances in the aisles in grocery stores. I'm really kind of over being somebody who's trying to live and conform into a mold that I think I'm supposed to live that is so fear-based, right? And number 3, stop changing course because of what other people might think. This is your adventure. You're on this ride. This is your opportunity to experience joy, your opportunity to experience love, your opportunity to experience pain, your opportunity to experience victory. All the highs and lows are yours. So why do we so often defer to other people in terms of what I should or should not be doing or what is acceptable behavior? For years, I get a lot of feedback about how powerful and great I would be if I could just clean it up, right? If I could just fit the mold of what a minister is supposed to look like, do I know how powerful I could be? And what I say to them is, do you know how powerful I am standing in my own truth, being who I am, rather than trying to fit the mold of what you think I'm supposed to be? That's power. Anybody can get up here and pretend to be Dr. James or pretend to be, the perfect image of what a reverend looks like. It takes courage and conviction to say, this is who I am and this is what a minister is. And I don't say that to put a feather in my own cap. I say it because I feel a responsibility to live that so that I can give other people permission to do the same. To let your own freak flag fly. To live you out loud. Life is lifing. And at the end of the day, you're the only one you have to answer to. Why are you living for how somebody else thinks you should be living it? Go find another box if you don't fit in this box. If you've outgrown a box, stop staying in the box. It's time to find a new box. And then most importantly, and the title of my talk today, Swan, what's in your bag? While we're on this journey, we get to decide what we're going to take with us. We don't get to decide the terrain always. We don't get to decide when the flat tires are going to happen or the diagnosis is going to happen. But we get to decide what we're going to pack in the bag with us as we are journeying through life. If I was going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro and I put scuba gear in my backpack, first of all, not very useful, and also it's going to weigh me down. If I'm climbing a mountain, I'm going to want some snackies and a water bottle and maybe some light layers, right? Because then I'm equipped with everything that I need in order to get up that hill. The same goes for life. We get to decide. What I've seen Marilyn Murphy rock through her experience with is an open heart and vulnerability. I've seen her take all of us with her because she's going to need the love and support. I've seen her take this journey with Scott right by her side as a rock. I've seen her take this journey with a sense of, I've got this, I know who I am, bring it, right? I've got this. And I know that every day doesn't look like that. I don't know that because Marilyn has shared that with me, but much like what I was talking about with Jill, I know that if you peer in anybody's windows for a second, there's going to be a moment of doubt in those things. And that's why she packed all those people in her bag. That's why she doesn't have to go through any of this alone, because she knew to take her tribe with her for those moments. But at the core, at the essence, like Jill was talking about, she knew. She might have cried, she might have sworn, she might have thrown temper tantrums from time to time, but at her core of her, she knew who she was and where she was going, and this was hers to do on this adventure. That's what we get to choose to take with us. So often, we're living this life's adventure, and we decide that we're going to pack a bag full of fear and doubt and low self-esteem and worry. And every choice we make based on that belief system and what we have in our backpack is deciding the next choice and the next choice and the next choice and the next experience. So if you want to be able to move through this experience of, health or whatever, having that backpack full of I've got this and vulnerability and even most important, who can I help by going through this journey? You come out the other side more evolved. You come out the other side stronger, knowing even more who you are, being more connected, living this vision statement. That's what is ours to do. That's how we get to the other side without having to feel like, damn, that was a waste of time. Nothing we do is a waste of time, but sometimes we get to do it over and over and over again because we didn't learn what we were supposed to learn the first time. So you know what? If I have to experience something like a health challenge or my husband being in the hospital, and I want to learn that connection is important and to get more engaged with my husband during gallbladder removal, I don't want to learn the lesson in divorce proceedings. Now, I'm not divorcing my husband today, I'm not, but I also recognize that's the first stage of that journey if I don't see it now. So, sitting in that hospital room, so grateful for that he's healthy and he's vibrant and that he's going to get through this and that it's just a gallbladder that apparently, it's a nice to have, not a need to have. That I got to make sure that he knew that I loved him and refocus my priorities and make sure that he is central in those priorities. I get to do that today so that I don't have to keep learning the lesson over and over and over and over again. So what's in your bag? What are you choosing to bring with you? If you don't get to choose the terrain and you don't get to choose the weather, you get to decide whether you're going to bring sweater. You get to decide whether you're going to come at everything with love and compassion and a knowing who you are and vital energy, or if you're going to come at it with somebody else's voice, with your mother's voice ringing in your head, or a seventh grade teacher that told you that you weren't any good at XYZ. That is our choice. We spend our whole lives standing at the trailhead, looking out at the horizon, waiting for the real adventure to start. We think adventure is a plane ticket, a career, peak, or some sudden plot twist that saves us from our ordinary lives. But the truth is, you are already deep in the wilderness. Life isn't waiting for you to find it. It's happening to you, through you, and right now. You don't get to choose the weather on this trail. You don't get to choose the terrain. And you certainly don't get to control what's around the next bend. But you do get to choose what you carry. So open the bag, dump out the fear, the performance, the old expectations of what your journey should look like. Pack your curiosity. Pack your willingness to be a mess and make a mess. Pack the radical belief that your actual unfiltered life is the only adventure you will ever need. Drop the heavy bag, burn the map, and stop waiting for the ride to begin. You didn't come here to find the adventure. You came here to be it. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.